What's the one thing that you're really most excited to see actually live out there in the park this year?
I'm excited for all of it, actually. I never really have like a favorite. I think they're all our demented little children. I'm really excited to be working with Walking Dead because I'm a huge fan of the show. When the show premiered, I was doing Horror Nights, so I wasn't able to watch it, so I TiVoed it all. And then when Halloween Horror Nights ended, after that first season of Walking Dead, I sat down and watched the pilot, and I was just hooked. And then I watched episode 2 and episode 3, and I watched the entire first season in one setting. And Chris Williams, my art director, production designer, had already been watching the show, and he was already going, "Hey, you got to look at The Walking Dead. We got to look at The Walking Dead." And now to be here, and just earlier this week, Greg Nicotero, who's the makeup artist and producer, and now directing episodes of Walking Dead, was out and working directly with Greg. It's really exciting to bring that series to life. Silent Hill's really exciting for me because we've never done video games, and for years the fans have been asking for that, and they've specifically been asking about Silent Hill. And that's a heck of a challenge because when you're designing a video game, you don't have to think about the ergonomics of what it's going to be like for a performer to be playing that role. And when you look at something like Pyramid Head, we didn't want to do Pyramid Head like you see him as a static figure, but he never moves. So we're doing Pyramid Head live right in front of you and trying to create something like his giant helmet and make it something that a performer on stilts can do every single night, every 10 seconds. That's a heck of a challenge. I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan. I grew up worshiping Alice. He's the whole reason why I do what I do. So last year we did Welcome to My Nightmare. And this year when I sat down with Alice, I was like, well, Goes to Hell is the sequel to Welcome to My Nightmare, but we had a unique twist on it. I've always been fascinated with Dante's Inferno, and I always saw a lot of parallels between Alice's classic concept album and that novel, or epic poem, even though it was written in the 13th century, I think. So it was very cool to collaborate with Alice and modernize Dante's vision of hell using Alice's lyrics as inspiration and his songs as inspiration. And I think that one's going to blow people's minds.
You've been doing this for several years now. What have you learned from past years of Halloween Horror Nights that have influenced maybe some of the changes that you've made this year from year to year?
Keep an open mind. I mean, when I came into Halloween Horror Nights, when I brought it back in 2006, I had a very specific agenda, and it was to bring specifically horror movies to life, because I looked around the industry and I didn't see anybody doing that, and certainly not doing it to a movie quality level like we do with Horror Nights. But times have changed, and horror has changed, and we have to always keep an open mind and evolve with it. Like just a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have considered Silent Hill. I didn't grow up a gamer. I think I peaked at the Atari 5200, So even though I'm not familiar with it, even though I'm not, maybe somebody who played all those games, I think it's really important to keep an open mind about it and listen to the fans. And I kept hearing them say Silent Hill, Silent Hill. So I checked it out and went, wow, this is a great property. And now that we've, completely delved into that world, and it's a huge world. So, going on the wiki page and reading every single page of it, listening to every single piece of music ever created for any Silent Hill game, working directly with Konami and the game designers, and bringing in people that, were people who played all of the games and working with them and talking with them. It infuses that passion in yourself to bring it to life. And so I think it's really important for us, even though our original intention was just to do horror movies, and we've now expanded into television, video games, rock and roll, and I think it's important to always do that and not just sit in your comfort zone, but take some chances.
One of the things that really distinguishes Halloween Horror Nights from the typical theme park experience is just the number of people who are involved here. You're not just talking about going through an attraction with animatronics or set pieces or something. There's people out there. They're in the houses. They're in the scare zones.
Yeah.
How do you incorporate that human element into it to make this a really unique event?
Well, it's a live event, and there's a big difference between making a movie and doing something live. And the first thing I always tell our characters every year, and I'll be doing it this weekend because we kick off what we call Scare Academy, and we have to do it over 2 nights now because there's so many of them. But we bring the entire cast in, and I think I do a presentation that lasts like an hour and a half. And I take them through every single aspect of the event from top to bottom as if I was a guest walking through the park. And then when it comes to training the actors, myself and Chris Williams, we go out in every single maze, and we block every single scene with our supervisors, with the actors, and we're very hands-on. And, do we have to do that? No, but there's a reason we do that, and it's because Chris and I are the keepers of the flame. Chris and I design everything for Horror Nights hand in glove together, and we want to instill the passion we have for the event, the goals and vision we have, down to every single actor. And I always tell the actors the same thing. I'm like, no matter how amazing our sets are, our props, our costumes, our makeup, all the stuff that Chris and I and our incredibly talented team create, if the performers aren't doing it, it all falls apart. So the performers are hugely important in creating an event and making something successful. They're the difference between a maze or a haunted attraction being really, really great or not so great. And you need to spend the time with the actors to do that. And we're lucky because we're smack dab in the middle of Hollywood. Obviously, there's thousands of actors in this town, but characters are their own breed. They're not necessarily actors. They're characters. They're people that live to scare people. And we have hundreds of them that come back every year and are alumni. And it's really cool. I've been doing this 7 years now. It's every time I walk in, to auditions or training actors in a maze, it's always like a family reunion. And it's like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you in a year. And you get to know everybody really well. And it's really gratifying to see them bring it to life.